Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am super hyped to get on here and tape for you all this morning. Woke up to the news of the primary results out of New York, right, for New York mayor. And lo and behold, we talked about this. Spirit brought this up in a reading last week that I did for you all to keep a close eye on the race between, especially between Andrew Cuomo and Zoran Mamdani, who pulled it out in numbers. Like, I think it was almost a 10-point spread, like no question at all how the voters went. So wow, right? AOC was absolutely ecstatic. I'm sure many of you saw her reaction. She was absolutely ecstatic. As you know, she endorsed Mamdani. So this is going to be very interesting. And what Spirit said in that reading last week was one of the reasons why this is such a pivotal race is because it's going to serve as a barometer for what we can expect in, from the Democratic Party and races going into 2026. It was sort of a temperature check to see if in fact the establishment, established Dems were going to have to start to take a back seat or work cooperatively with more progressive Dems, younger Dems who are ready to come on and, come on the scene and really cause the shift that people want and need at this time. So wow, 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 wow. I want to take a look now. Of course, we have our, Laura Loomers of the world and our, our MAGA prolific cultists who have come out and just, hair on fire, sounding the alarms because, of course, Mamdani is Muslim. But more than that, he's a socialist. He calls himself a democratic socialist, and he's talked about things like free buses and childcare and rent stabilization specific to New York. But these are progressive policies that he's advocating for, and so the big business interests as well as the MAGA faction are like, oh, we got a problem here. So definitely between now and what is it, November, when the vote is cast in New York for the mayor's race, there's going to be a really, we're going to see him targeted, Zoran Mamdani, targeted greatly. However, they already see it coming. They've known that this was going to happen if in fact he won the primary and is going to be the Democratic candidate. So I get the sense Spirit is saying that's fine. New York is going to do what New York is going to do, right? And at least Stefanik, who is going to challenge, apparently, she got axed from her promised cabinet position. So they're like, no worry, don't worry about it, girlfriend. We're gonna hook you up with the governorship, right? Nas, so she's out there, hooping and hollering and screaming about. They're making comparisons to, all this Islamophobia, comparisons to, trying to make correlations between Mamdani and 9/11. Like, it's gonna run the gamut. It's gonna get ridiculous. Spirit is saying, but just watch and see. This is gonna hold fast. I do want to take a look at him, and if in fact this is going to cause, they're calling it an earthquake, a political earthquake, especially within the Democratic faction, and keeping in mind as well that Ken Martin has his hands full, head of the DNC. Like, he's been swirling in a lot of controversy, and what some people are saying is he's not showing himself up to the task. But the DNC is going to have to line itself up behind progressive candidates. David Hogg is very much in the Mamdani camp. And we know that even though he has, he's no longer with the DNC, he is still going to be in that progressive movement and the youth movement within the party. Watch and see. There's going to be so much happening, you all. I want to go to Spirit right now and take a look. Oh, and by the way, a couple of things real quick before I do that. Bear with me for a moment. One, introduce myself in case some of you are landing on the channel and aren't familiar with me. I'm a Fefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. Clearly, I'm a tarot reader. I'm also a former newspaper journalist, and I'm a spiritualist, initiated in both Wiccan and African traditions. So I got a lot on my plate. I try to use that to bring you good content here on the channel. Second thing I want to mention to you all, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below. I am offering a class on July 19th, Saturday, July 19th, 2 p.m. Eastern. It'll be a 90-minute session recorded. It is, what did I call it? I want to give you the actual title. It's Spiritual Lessons from Sinners, the movie. And this was suggested to me, and I thought about it, prayed over it, went to Spirit, and they were like, by all means, do this. So, as many of you know, if you saw the movie Sinners, and if not, please do. It rocked a lot of people's worlds because of its spiritual components, especially spiritual components. So, I'm going to do a workshop around, the lessons that we can learn from that in our spiritual paths, around ancestral realms, around the reality of ancestral realms and how they work, how ancestors work in real time. Gonna look at the cultural cross connections spiritually, because in that movie there were these interesting connections and intersections between the Irish, African American, and even Chinese. So that's oof, I can't wait. I can't wait to get into that. And probably most importantly is this component of free will and destiny, and so relating that to the lessons we can learn in our spiritual path as well. So really excited to do that for you all. Only $30, and if you're interested, if you can make it, and again, even if you can't make it on that day, it'll be recorded so you can get the recording afterward. Would love to have you there. I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it for that one, you all. I'm hyped. All right, so now let's move on. Spirit, the primary win by Zoran Mamdani. Is he going to win in November? Will he be the next mayor of New York City? Let's just go there. Will Zoran Mamdani be the next mayor of New York City? Will he be the mayor of New York City? Will he win? Okay. The Emperor. Clear. Ding, ding, ding. Clear. Oh, and I've got my little sign up in the background. It's handwritten. I'll do better. I'll get something a little more fancy, or it's people are like, well, put a banner across your channel. I'm like, do you know how technically challenged I am? But I accept the challenge. I will get it going. But in the meantime, there you have it. All right, so we've got the Emperor, like clear answer, visionary leader. What I love about this energy is that it is not only boss energy, but it is so visionary. This is about how the progressive voices that want to be heard, that demand to be heard, and voters across the board. There were many on Threads and other forms of social media who were talking about it. I was looking at this one. There were, people in their 60s and 70s voters who were saying, I voted for him. Like, enough with the establishment. We don't need that. The big money elitist Dems that, it's a lot to do with why we are where we are. So the emperors come, and temperance, a blending together of what had been polarized voices and polarized factions within the party, right? Temperance has a very unique ability to blend hot and cold, up and down, Democrats, independents. There's this blending there and moderation there in terms of avoiding extremist attitudes and being more adaptable, being more flexible, and open to having a new leader, a younger, more progressive leader, especially in a city like New York. Two major arcana right out the bat. And for those of you not that familiar with tarot, when you get major arcana cards like this, it amplifies the message from spirit. So spirit is like on a bullhorn, like, yes, listen up. All right, you all. I think it's safe to say we are going to. I'm done. I'm just done. Just pulled the Empress, you all. 3 powerful major arcana regarding whether Zoran Mamdani will win in November. He's going to win. And I love the Empress. Sometimes I pull this around AOC. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, let me use her full name. That's why we call her AOC. So I feel like that has a lot to do with her. And we're going to see, in general, a lot of women lining up behind him and being forceful in the vote in November. Now, going a step further, what I got last week when I looked at this, you all, you may remember if you saw the reading, was this was gonna, portend what happens nationwide. This is going to just be an earthquake, they're calling it, political earthquake. Spirit, will this race in New York spark and get more support for younger progressive candidates across the nation, especially for the 2026 midterms? The magician spirit is coming in hot, you all. And I need to share this deck with you all. They're telling me to remind you of this because some of you ask. I have many readers on the channel. So this is the Lumina Tarot. All right, Lumina Tarot. And boom, here we go. All right. The magician also speaks to being manifestation and speaking things into existence. The idea that a supposed underdog, I mean, you're talking about somebody like Andrew Cuomo, who, for all of his scandals and faults, had the big money behind him. The super PACs, millions of dollars, outspent Mamdani's campaign by, big money, right? Didn't matter. Didn't matter. So that's what I think the magician is speaking to as well, is with these national races that we're going to see, new candidates that we're going to see, some who on, at first glance, first blush, may appear to be sort of, a long shot. Magician. Okay. So earthquake. We have experienced a political earthquake here through this New York race. Spirit said it. Spirit, thank you, Spirit. They said, keep your eye on this race and know that it was going to show genuinely where a lot of people are, where the voting public is in regards to this moment in time and what needs to change. And if the parties that be, or the powers that be in the Democratic, establishment, the Chuck Schumers and the Hakeem Jeffries of the world, are not prepared to really take that mantle and run with it. Even, yes, Cory Booker, to an extent, did what he did with that 25-hour marathon. Love him for it. But still, the building of that action and promoting new candidates, as AOC did by putting her, her political heft behind a candidate like Zohran Mamdani. That's what we're going to see more of. All right, you all. Now, not such a big earthquake. We're going to call this more of a mini earthquake. We did see a big change in the House Oversight Committee with the election of Robert Garcia out of California, right? Representative Robert Garcia. Now, there's a lot of talk and some grumbling out there because we know that Jasmine Crockett also had thrown her hat in the ring. A lot of this, many of you know, but in case you don't, so a lot of the focus on what was happening with the House Oversight Committee is because of the recent death of Jerry Connolly, rest his soul, who AOC put in her bid against Connolly. The establishment won, right? Even though they were aware of his ill health, they still, lined up behind him, and she had to bow out. So, and then, a couple of months later, his health takes a toll and he's gone, and now here we are again. So Jasmine Crockett threw her hat in the ring, as did Garcia. Jasmine Crockett came out and said basically she pulled out, I think yesterday right before the vote was taken, but she said that they chose a different style of leadership because Garcia, yes, progressive in the sense he is younger. So, dealing with this whole idea that the only way you get these committee assignments is through seniority. Garcia is younger. I think he's only 47 years old. He is younger. He fits that bill. He is gay, openly gay. So there we have that. And we're gonna talk about Pete Buttigieg a little bit later. I've been. We know he's gonna run in 2028. There have been a lot of people who said there's no way America's ready for a gay president. But we'll look at that one a little bit later. But he is going back to Garcia, openly gay. Latino, I do believe. I think he's from Peru. I'm not, check me on that. I think he's from Peru. But the bottom line is, so in total, progressive, right? In total, this is a shift and a big shift. There is some disappointment because it would have been a way bigger shift with Jasmine Crockett as the head, especially in light of, moving towards taking the House back in 2026. Can you imagine okay? But I will say this. I watched some segments and some clips of Garcia late yesterday after he won, and he was very clear in giving props to Jasmine Crockett and thanking her and saying, he's looking forward to working with her. I want to take a look at, something just wanted to jump out there. The Three of Wands. Wow, thank you, Spirit. As I was shuffling, this jumped out. The Three of Wands working together, right? Working together. And Garcia, he is a politician. So he's been very careful to talk about, thanking the senior and ranking, Dems, as well as firebrands like Jasmine Crockett. So he's trying to cover all bases. That's why I think Spirit just gave us that Three of Wands. And by the way, while I'm shuffling, I have several of you that want to know how I shuffle and pull. I do a standard shuffle, as you will see many readers do, and then I gather myself and I do my method. I do a 1, 2, 3, and I pull, and that's my method. All right, Three of Wands. He's going to build or try and build that coalition. He's going to be respectful towards Democratic leadership and establishment while partnering with people like Jasmine and progressives like Jasmine Crockett. Spirit, I want to look closer at Jasmine Crockett. So he's going to be fine. He is going to, but he is going to he's not going to be another Jeffries where he, go along to get along. He's gonna be more forceful than that, but he will at all times. Like, you're not, like, we really love the way Jasmine keeps it real, and she'll let that F-bomb drop, which shall we even talk about that little statement that came from FDT? That was interesting. But and of course when he does it, it's, he keeps it real, and then when she does it, it's, she's not being polished or whatever. But the bottom line is, you won't hear that from someone like Robert Garcia. That's not his style. He will, definitely be a politician in all of this, but I think he is going to definitely, Spirit is saying he's definitely going to keep people like Jasmine Crockett close by and work with them. Six of Pentacles, 100%. He's going to work with her and other progressives like her. He's open to it. He had the demeanor and the cachet when Jasmine Crockett said they wanted a different style of leadership. It was 100% true. So they wanted that little more, polished sort of thing where she's going to bring the real and she's going to bring the fire. But he respects that about her, you all. That's what I'm getting from Spirit. Garcia respects that about Jasmine, and he will absolutely work very closely with her. I have the Knight of Pentacles. We won't see drastic change from him or what he's able to accomplish right now, because we know, isn't it Comer still, Republicans still in charge there, but watch, slow change. So he's ready for the long game. That's what this feels like to me. The Knight of Pentacles. He's ready. Garcia's ready for the long game. I'm going to see a lot from him. I do want to look at Jasmine Crockett, because we know that FDT, I call him FDT, has put in a call to Greg Abbott in Texas and said, listen, I'm going to need you to do something about her. I'm going to need you to do something with the redistricting, if I can get my words out. And so that basically it would eliminate her seat, right? That's the game plan. So I want to take a look at her. Spirit, Jasmine Crockett, Representative Jasmine Crockett out of Texas. Will she be safe? Will she maintain her seat? Will she maintain her seat in Congress? Will she? 10 of Cups. That's looking good, right? That's looking good. By the people, for the people, on behalf of the people will not stand for it. Greg Abbott or no Greg Abbott, the people are not going to stand for that. And the Ace of Cups. If you're with me, you know how I get with my aces. If you're not, when I get aces, that's a yes. That's my spirit guide saying I'm on point with that. And notice both times it came in cups, water, emotions, how people feel about that, the response to that. Yeah, Abbott may try it, because he's going to do whatever he's got to do to try and keep, keep his fearless leader happy. But we have the Maiden of Swords. It's interesting. We will hear more people speaking. This is not just Jasmine Crockett speaking on her own behalf, but we're going to hear people within the state of Texas, maybe even the state legislature, I'm getting, but we will have people who are ready to come forth, call it out. Like the minute any orders are given to try and reconfigure her district, where you're going to see such a resistance to that. You're going to see perhaps lawsuits, whatever it takes. And it looks like it's going to come from other female supporters as well. And we have the Hermit. I love that. Thank you, Spirit. Because the Hermit gets the job done. Ruled by Virgo, Mercury, right? And in Mercury, we just got swords, communication. So everything that would need to be done to protect her position will be done. And what's interesting is while we clearly know she is a fighter in and of herself, she will have the backing. She won't go be alone in that fight. People see it for what it is, and the Wheel of Fortune. She is destined for big things, you all. Jasmine Crockett is destined to do what she does, and nothing's going to stop her. She's solid. We don't have to worry. Unfortunately, it's another aggravation. It's another obstacle. It's another tactic to try and intimidate her. But her star is rising, and it will continue to do so. All right. And finally, you all, I wanted to take a really quick look at, many of you have said forever that, there was something funky going on with the voting machines, and there was no way that Kamala Harris lost in all of the swing states, right? Now we have this lawsuit that's been filed out of, I think, Rockland County, New York, because they're like, none of this is adding up. Something is terribly, terribly wrong. And, we've had Anonymous has come out. Like, there have been so much kind of on the underground, but the underground is starting to come out more and more around election integrity for the November elections. And if, in fact, like something happened, something seriously, went off the rails there, right? We all remember FDT coming out and saying, yeah, Elon took care of the voting machines, right? The question is that going to gain enough traction? Because there have also been arguments that, and I'm not completely clear on this. Feel free to leave comments, respectful comments. I only ask if you know more about election processes. But the idea that because the election was already certified, so had some things come out prior to the certification, then that would have been more like, okay, we got, here's the fight, we're going to take the fight to them. But the fact that it's been certified and we're this far down the tracks, what do you do about that? I want to take a look and see if, in fact, Spirit, is there going to be a broader, more investigations? Because this one is a lawsuit filed particular to New York, and this is out of Rockland County. But it's catching, of course, a lot of national attention. My question, Spirit, will there be more lawsuits and emerging investigations into the 2024 election and Kamala Harris's supposed loss? Will there be more? We have the King of Cups, that's Biden. And the Knight of Swords. Oh, you know why? You know what's interesting? I just got, because remember, they're talking about dragging this whole thing through Congress again around Biden's supposed mental decline. Who covered it up? Why? Blah, blah, blah. Like just all of this wasted effort, but effort nonetheless to, subpoena people, make them testify around that. But doing that seems to be opening the doors with that Knight of Swords. By them continuing to push that Biden button, may open some doors to further investigations into the election itself and perhaps election tampering. We have the Seven of Wands. That does feel like, but it's an uphill climb, you all. In other words, yes, there could be, in addition to New York now, multiple states that begin to take another look at it, and perhaps even some other lawsuits. But it is such an uphill climb with the Seven of Wands. And the Four of Cups. Because that's like a ho-hum sort of energy. And that sort of feels like one step forward, two steps back. In other words, so there's evidence there, but then how do you utilize that evidence or compile that evidence or somehow convincingly frame that evidence so that it would win in a court of law? Knowing also this, in the High Priestess, the secrets that have been kept around it. And also though the unknown becoming known. So we're going to hear more. I'm getting a sense from this that we're going to hear more, and what could possibly provoke that is as they continue to do this whole brouhaha around Joe Biden's mental fitness while he was running for president. That's going to take them down a rabbit hole that it looks like Spirit is saying could boomerang on them. There will be more things brought to light, but at the same time, there's such a quagmire that comes from that because, of course, the resistance to that and dragging things out as long, delay. Yeah, so I guess the bottom line is I'm not seeing, I wish I did, but I'm not seeing a drastic change. I do see things coming to light, but the idea that, tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, boom, we're all ready to go to DC and see Kamala Harris sworn in after all. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, you all. But we never know. We've seen from these earthquakes that things can happen that some folks predict can't happen. So let's see. Let's keep it going. All right, I'm going to keep this, close it out here. I've gone, and this is about my usual length. Please consider the class, you all. Again, the link will be below, or you can just visit my website, www.trulytouchedbytarot.com. All right, trulytouchedbytarot.com. Go to my booking services page, and you'll see the class for the spiritual lessons from the movie Sinners. I'd love to see you there. All right, I'll talk about it some more between now and July 19th. And chin up. We have reason. Chin up. Shoulders back. Relaxed, right? Fist pump if you want. That's fine. But whatever you do, remember to breathe. And I'll talk to you in a couple of days. Bye.